This is about people who prey on the weakness of kids. Florida's so-called "Don't Say Gay" law has the left up in arms in defense of, hang on, got to check my notes, sexual predators. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Before we get to today's topic, though, I want you to do me a favor. So it'll only take a moment, and it won't even hurt. Click that thumbs up button, that notification button, that 5-star button, maybe 4 if you think this is a so-so episode, but never listen 4. All right, did you do that? Great, thank you. All right, gentlemen, we need to talk about groomers. This distresses me greatly. I'm the father of one elementary school age kid and one high school kid. But as you may be aware, it's become all the rage for our teachers to, well, want to talk about things that aren't really appropriate for preschoolers and elementary schoolers. I'm not talking about your basic sex ed. This is how everything works, and these are the diseases you don't want to catch. I'm talking about teachers like this one.
The last couple of years, I worked with the school systems, and my job definitely was not to teach sex ed, but I explored constantly and tried to figure out ways that I could work this in somehow. Like, I'm in the school systems now. I have an in. Surely I can figure this out.
Without getting to the specifics, gentlemen, of Florida's law, which is really an anti-grooming bill, it has nothing to do with whether or not anybody is gay or can even say the word gay. I've said it like 5 times already. Nobody cares. But then you get into things like the Mayor Pro Tem of Huntersville, North Carolina, Stacey Phillips, who recently deleted this tweet and then her entire account, because this gets into creepy stuff. If you're a kid living in a don't say gay state and feel like you don't have an adult to talk to, I got you. You're welcome to slide into my DMs to talk, to share, to express yourself confidentially. Scott, let's start with you. I really hate this topic, but it's got to be said. People used to understand that there were things you didn't talk to other people's kids about. And though essentially when it comes to domestic policy, I'm a small L libertarian, it does seem that we've come to a place where we need laws on the books to stop grown-ups from doing this, to grooming young kids.
You know, it's hard enough to get kids to come forward and admit that somebody has been talking to them in an inappropriate way or molesting them or, doing some other horrible thing to them. But it just boggles the mind how somebody could be trying to protect people like that, even more than they're already protected by the kind of veil of silence that comes from the shame of the abused, the victims of these things. It's absurd, and just a masterful stroke of branding, by the way, on the part of the left, who always seems to steal the march on this front, and they find ways to categorize things as they are not, to make it seem like they are, to be able to say, the "Don't Say Gay" bill. And the first thing you hear, or think when you hear that there's such a bill, is you think, well, who would ever pass a bill to keep people from saying gay? Everybody says that. That's ridiculous. No. And when I first heard it, I thought it was one of those things like you can't say retard anymore. It's like it was to prevent people from insulting people by calling them gay. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. What is this really? And then they basically have gotten us to think, well, this is trying to prevent young gay people from being able to grow up into well-balanced individuals who have their own kind of sexuality and who were born with it, of course. And so there's no need to talk about it whatsoever. But yet we have to talk to them about it. So I guess I would come down on the side of shut up about sex to my kids, period. Like, I'm not saying I'm against reproductive biology lessons at the appropriate age level, but there's no need for a license for teachers or others in the school system to discuss sexuality with my especially preteen child. That's not your business. The school can do biology education. That's fine. It doesn't tread on anybody's religious beliefs. It doesn't tread on anybody's beliefs about sex, about marriage, or anything like that. Just do your job and teach science. But unfortunately, they think their real job is to make the world safe for whatever anybody thinks they can do or should be doing or want to do or were born to do. And so now they've got to pave the way. And so 4-year-olds need to find out about transgenderism so that they don't discriminate when they're, 6 years old, against people who seem to be adrift from their sexual moorings. I just think this is a ridiculous way. And it's just the left's normal reaction to Republicans. Now, I'm not going to say Republicans haven't had their moments where they go out on a limb and just feel like they have to crow about morality because they know that'll play well in the next election among their base. But in this case, it seems quite the opposite. And anybody who's standing up in defense of these adults who are grooming children to talk about sex in a private way with somebody who's not their parents deserves to be watched carefully by the authorities.
Very, very closely. And again, I am essentially a small L libertarian who would be aghast at that sort of surveillance for almost any other reason. And just to be clear about this isn't anybody's idea of prudery or anything like that. One of these pedo enablers accused people like us of being sex fascists, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. Let me tell you, buddy, if I even hinted at the stuff I used to get away with in my 20s and 30s, a lot of the viewers of this episode would spontaneously combust. So let's set that whole prude thing aside. It isn't about grown-ups or even people in their late teens doing what grown-ups and people in their late teens have been doing since the beginning of time. This is about people who prey on the weakness of kids for their own political or even worse reasons. Let's run another one of these teacher TikTok clips here.
I never tell parents, period. On their survey at the beginning of the year, when it asked for preferred name and pronouns, it also asked for what you want me to refer to you as when I call home and what pronouns to use. So then I just make sure when I'm calling home, I use what they prefer when I call home. Even if someone told me I couldn't do that and I couldn't call them whatever they want or the pronouns they want without parent permission, I would still do it.
Bill, it isn't just that. There is a poster from, I believe this was a school in Portland, that says, examples of microaggressions. Are you a girl or a boy? That's not a real gender. Did you have the surgery? There's only 2 genders. Bill, I think the fact that there's a serious grammatical error in a poster about sexual microaggressions says really everything we need to know about some schools' priorities, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd like to echo Scott's earlier comments and say that the people who support this are not only retarded, it's all kind of gay, to be honest with you.
You beat me to it. I was going to do that in the close.
Sorry. So grooming is designed to desensitize people. But in this particular context, it's designed to desensitize people to sexual conversations, desensitize children to them. And it's an incremental thing where you basically you're basically grooming this person to be a sexual object for you. It's only been the 2 times that I've ever seen it recorded on film. The first time was in Airplane, where Captain Over says, you ever been inside a Turkish prison, Joey? You ever seen a grown man naked? This kind of thing. It's like what they're making fun of there is exactly how that grooming works. It's like, let's talk about that kind of stuff, Do you like gladiator movies, Joey? So that's how it works. The only other time it's been recorded on film is during pretty much every one of Joe Biden's home movies. Because he does it too. He comes up behind these young girls, comes up behind them, stands behind them, up in contact with them, hands on the shoulders, around the neck. I've seen scores, if not hundreds, of these pictures and videos of him doing that. So, yes, it is designed to desensitize people, and it's wrong. And what this law is doing is saying you don't get to do that in the classroom with somebody else's kids. And if it's the don't say gay law, it's also the don't say trans law, and it's also the don't say straight law. It's basically saying you don't get to talk about this with kids who are too young to understand it. Let alone come to philosophical or moral conclusion that you're trying to get them to. I remember very clearly one of the most times I was ever angry was when I was 6 years old, and I was sitting out there, and this guy who my dad knew I didn't know very well came up to me and said, "What do you think about girls, Bill?" And I said, "I think they're stupid. I hate them." And he says, "You'll change your mind about that." And I said, "Oh, well, not." Well, it turns out that old man was right. But my point is that sexuality is something that and sexuality thoughts begin to occur at puberty and not before then. I never had a sexual thought before I had something to think about sexual thoughts. And this business of putting this on children to get them pre-registered to accept this person's lifestyle as either normal is not even the point. I would be as opposed to this procedure in classrooms as if some straight guy came in and started talking about all the chicks he banged in front of third graders, I'd be against that too. It's not a question of being anti-gay or anti-trans or any of this stuff. It's about respecting the fact that children are children because they have not gotten old enough to be able to fully comprehend and deal with issues. That's why you don't show children pictures of blown up dead bodies. That's why you don't show them violence, presumably. They're not fully formed yet. And you don't get to form them in your own image, period.
Yeah. Whatever happened to, "Hey, teacher, leave them kids alone"?
Yeah.
Yeah. That used to be the left's rallying cry. How times have changed. It didn't even take that long. Folks, I can wrap this up really quickly. I wrote about this earlier on Tuesday of this week at Insanity Wrap, which is a weekly column I do for PJ Media. And one of the commenters there said, "There was a time when grown adults who spoke to other people's young children about their sexuality and sexual preferences would be run out of town if they were lucky." So we can put this particular genie back in the bottle in one of two ways. We can do it with more states passing laws like Florida's anti-grooming law. I only called it "Don't Say Gay" to make fun of the left. Okay, it's an anti-grooming law. We can either do it the easy way like that, or, and this is not an endorsement or of violence tacitly, implicitly, in any way whatsoever, but it is a prediction that if we do not solve this the nice way, then parents will solve it the ugly way, and that is not a place where I want to see this country go. That's your right angle on that, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Just a quick reminder, content like this needs sponsors like you. So if you've been watching these for free, we'd love to have you as a supporter, as a member. Go to BillWhittle.com and become a member today. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.